In the Fort Hollowan sun, the young pilot's laughter rang out. Evelyn Cross, silver-haired, stood there. They called her old-fashioned. The black hawk tattoo on her arm held a secret. In the hangar, tension was high. The pilot had failed. Evelyn, on the bench, remained silent. Her eyes were sharp. The tattoo reflected the screen. She was studying the failure. Evelyn entered the F-35 cockpit. Her face was lit by the screen. 6 enemies were down. She did not just fly. She was a ghost in the sky. The
Valkyrie's
hangar was
dawn.
silent. Evelyn at the controls said, "Yes, sir." The officers were stunned. Her tattoo was visible. The black helicopter landed. The truth had spoken. Evelyn walked toward the pave hawk in the sun. Her coat fluttered, the hawk tattoo visible. She was Spectre. She stepped into the light, ready for duty. They called her outdated, a bureaucratic mistake, just a woman past her prime on a bench full of warriors. But when the simulator lit up, they didn't just see her fly. They saw a ghost. Oui, at Fort Hollowan, the sun didn't just scorch the tarmac, it burned away illusions. The air shimmered with jet fuel, arrogance, and the dry heat of another cloudless day. Inside Hangar 4, a dozen young pilots lounged in full swagger. Their flight suits were crisp, their laughter loud, their bravado unchecked. They were soldiers of the sky, men molded by simulators and theory, not war. They spoke in kill ratios and lock tones, bragged about maneuvers they hadn't mastered, and dismissed anything they didn't understand. And sitting apart from them, on a plain metal bench with her back straight and hands resting calmly, was Evelyn Cross. Her flight suit looked too large for her frame, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun. Lines etched her face not with age, but with storms weathered. She said nothing, watched everything. To them, she was an outdated name on a clipboard, a last-minute desk jockey reassigned to fill a training quota. She had no call sign, no swagger, just a name, Cross, and a quiet presence that didn't fit their world of fast talk and faster jets. Master Sergeant Griggs, the instructor, barked through the hangar with the confidence of a man used to being obeyed. "Welcome to the boneyard," he growled, pausing to smirk at Evelyn. "Let's see if you remember which end of the stick makes the bird go up." No one expected her to fly. They expected her to fail, but Evelyn Cross didn't mind being underestimated. In fact, she counted on it. But iron. The simulator was no game. It was a calculated crucible, designed to break egos and expose weakness. At Fort Hollowan, it had done exactly that. One by one, the young pilots stepped forward, cocky and confident. One by one, they were shredded by the scenario. The first to fall was Lieutenant Reyes, all charm and swagger. He strutted towards Simulator 1 with the energy of a man who believed nothing could touch him. The mission? A hostile mountain airspace, electronic jamming, surface-to-air threats, 4 bogies closing in fast. Reyes gripped the throttle like a video game controller, blazing in with missiles and noise. 90 seconds in, a shrill alarm echoed through the hangar. "Eject, eject, eject," the voice said. Reyes emerged red-faced and fuming. "System bugged," he muttered, storming past the others. But the system wasn't bugged. It was mercilessly precise. The next pilot lasted 82 seconds. The next, 74. Some panicked. Some blamed lag. Most just stared at the screen, stunned that their confidence had led them straight into a virtual grave. Cross sat silently on her bench. She wasn't amused, wasn't smug. She was watching, listening. Her eyes traced every screen flicker, every technician's movement, every pattern in the terrain. By the 5th failure, the laughter had stopped. The hangar had turned cold with tension. Then came the colonel. Colonel Madsen was not a man easily rattled. Impeccably dressed, voice like gravel wrapped in steel. When he entered, even Griggs straightened up. "What am I looking at?" Madsen asked, staring at the red-lit scoreboard. "Nobody's lasted longer than 3 minutes?" "New protocol, sir," Griggs replied, his voice tight. "It's a tough scenario." "This isn't about protocol. It's about performance," Madsen snapped. Then he paused at the list. The final name. "Cross? Who's Cross?" Griggs gestured toward the far bench. "Transferred from logistics," he said, almost apologetically. Been behind a desk for years. Madsen's eyes landed on Evelyn, and just like the others, he saw what he expected. A woman past her prime. A quiet mistake in a flight suit. He sighed. Fine, get it over with. She rose without drama, without hesitation. As she walked towards Simulator 7, Private Chin, a quiet avionics tech, noticed something the others missed. She touched the simulator's side lightly, her fingers tracing the seam like a pianist meeting an old instrument. Not out of habit, out of reverence. Chin blinked. No one ever did that. Griggs barked, just keep the plane in the air, Cross. That's all you need to do. She looked at him, voice low and steady. I understand the objective. No one believed she would survive. And yet, when the canopy closed and the simulation loaded, something shifted. Evelyn Cross was no longer a logistics officer in borrowed gear. In that cockpit, she was returning to where she belonged. The hangar held its breath. On the main screen, the virtual world resolved into jagged peaks, painted in dusk. Her F-35 sat silently above a hostile canyon, an airspace laced with death. 4 enemy fighters, SAM sites below, electronic warfare jamming active. It was a no-win situation. Evelyn didn't charge, didn't climb. She dropped. A sharp inhale rippled through the room. What is she doing? Reyes muttered. She's going to crash, someone whispered. But Private Chin wasn't so sure. His eyes locked on the screen. She's terrain masking. She dove into the canyon floor like a shadow seeking its twin, flying barely meters above jagged rock. Her radar profile disappeared from enemy systems. No sensors, no lock, no target. She wasn't flying the jet. She was dancing with the earth. Griggs stood frozen, whispering under his breath. She's flying it manually. The F-35, a brute force weapon in most hands, moved like silk beneath hers. She didn't fight the scenario. She unraveled it, thread by thread. Her first kill came silently. She drifted up behind the trailing bogey, used only the gun, a clean 500-meter shot. One burst. Target gone. No fanfare, just, Tango 1 down, her voice said, calm as water. She didn't wait. Slid beneath a second fighter's wing, matching its speed, its angle, like a phantom in formation. One short burst. Tango 2 down. The remaining 2 fighters scrambled, confused, breaking formation. But she was already again diving back into the canyon's shadows. Griggs watched, pale. Every move is perfect. She's not wasting an ounce of energy. And then she went after the SAMs. Every pilot before her had died trying. But Evelyn approached indirectly, using ravines as cover. She popped up for just seconds, enough to release guided bombs, then yanked the aircraft into a high-G barrel roll while dropping flares and chaff. Each countermeasure timed with inhuman precision. The enemy missiles lost track, detonating harmlessly against stone. Ground threats neutralized, her voice crackled. She had completed the entire scenario. In under 4 minutes. Perfect score. And then, the real test began. 6 new threat icons bloomed red. Advanced fighters. An ambush built into the simulation. The designers called it the no-win protocol. Reyes sighed. It's over. No way she escapes that. But Evelyn Cross didn't flee. She killed the engine. Gasps filled the hangar. The F-35 became a glider. No thrust, no heat. The pursuing fighters expecting high-speed maneuvers overshot her. She reignited the engine mid-fall. The turbine screamed back to life. Now she was behind them. Fox 3, ripple fire, she said. 6 missiles launched simultaneously. 6 kills. The simulation ended. The room was silent. The main screen flashed. Mission score, 100% threats neutralized, aircraft intact. Survival, probability 100%. The canopy opened. Evelyn stepped out, breathing evenly like she'd just made tea. No sweat, no grin. The hangar was paralyzed. The cocky lieutenant stared. Griggs looked ghost white. Reyes lowered his head, humbled. Colonel Madsen approached, his expression unreadable. He opened his mouth, about to ask who the hell she was, and that's when the young communications officer burst through the hangar doors, panting, panic-stricken. "Colonel," he shouted, "secure line, situation room, sir. It's for her." Every head turned. Evelyn showed no surprise. She simply nodded and walked to the secure console. Madsen followed, shaken. She picked up the line. "Cross here," she said. A pause, then her back straightened. "Yes, Mr. President." Those 3 words shattered whatever illusions still lingered. Madsen felt cold sweat down his spine. Griggs leaned against a wall like his knees gave out. "Yes, sir," she continued. "They're attempting to activate Ghost Protocol." She paused. "I designed it." Silence. Heavy, reverent, terrifying. Then she said, "The override code is Valkyrie's Dawn." There were no doubts now. Evelyn Cross wasn't just a pilot. She was Spectre, a ghost, a legend, a myth whispered in the darkest corners of Black Ops. And she had just returned. Colonel Madsen stood frozen beside the secure console, watching a woman he had dismissed 30 minutes earlier speak calmly to the President of the United States. "I understand," Evelyn said into the handset. "Tell General Marcus that Spectre is active. He'll know what it means." That single word, Spectre, hung in the air like a thunderclap. It was more than a call sign. It was a legend, a whisper buried deep in the classified files of operations no one was supposed to know existed. Missions too dangerous to debrief. Decisions too dark to document. And she hadn't just survived them. She designed them. She finished the call, placed the receiver back into its cradle, and turned around. Her eyes no longer carried the softness of someone who tolerated ignorance. They burned. Colonel Madsen, a man who commanded wings, whose signature rerouted billions in defense spending, snapped to attention before her. Not out of protocol, but instinct. "Ma'am," he said hoarsely, "do you require transport?" "I need priority clearance to Andrews Air Force Base," she replied. "Wheels up in 10. "Yes, ma'am, immediately," he said, already motioning to the stunned aide at his side. Sergeant Griggs didn't speak. He leaned against Simulator 4 like he might collapse. His ego, his entire career, shattered by the precision of the woman he had mocked. The young lieutenants stood in silence. Their bravado dissolved into reverence. None of them could meet her gaze. None except Private Chin. He watched her move across the hangar with steady purpose, sunlight slicing through the wide doors as the sound of a helicopter built in the distance. And just before she vanished into that light, her sleeve shifted, revealing a black ink tattoo of an osprey with a single teardrop beneath its eye. The mark of Spectre. Chin would never forget it, and neither would Reyes. He finally broke the silence, voice low, shaken. They called her useless. He shook his head slowly as the Pavehawk landed outside, dark and sleek, rotor blades chopping the air with a surgical precision. My God, we were fools. Evelyn didn't look back. She didn't owe them an explanation. The world had changed in a matter of minutes, and so had every man in that room. The dust from the Pavehawk's departure hadn't yet settled when the hangar doors slowly rolled shut. No one spoke. The scoreboard still glowed on the wall. 100% mission score, aircraft intact, survival probability, absolute. A perfect record the system's creators once deemed mathematically impossible, and it had been achieved by the quietest person in the room. For Colonel Madsen, the image of Evelyn Cross walking into the light would stay etched in his mind, not because she had stunned them all, but because she had never tried to. No speeches, no need for vindication. She had simply done what needed to be done, without explanation, without applause, and that was the lesson. Greatness doesn't need to shout, it just needs a chance. The hangar would go back to normal soon, jets screaming down the runway, training exercises resumed, new recruits cycling in. But something invisible had shifted. Every young pilot who stood there that day would carry it forward. They had seen what it meant to earn reverence, to let skill speak louder than ego, to witness quiet become power, to watch a legend rise and vanish into the dust.